Hello and welcome to the History of the Picts podcast, episode 11, the Reformation. The last narrative episode we went over was the Pictish Revolt and the most famous battle of Pictish history.
On the political front, the Picts could breathe a little bit easier, having survived the threat of conquest by the aggressive English warlords. That issue now lay buried with Egfrid's ambitions in the mires around Dunechan, and he was never to rise again. Northumbria's new king was Aldfrith, so obscure that I do not recognise this man's name at all, and I read the book with Anglo-Saxons. Egfrid's half-brother and an unlikely candidate for royal power.
He spent much of his early life within religious communities in Ireland and Iona. He is better known as a monk and a scholar, and he had neither the desire nor the ability to restore England's supremacy over the Picts, Scots, and Britons.
On the contrary, his elevation to the Northumbrian kingship was accomplished with the approval of his predecessor's former vassals. He was a preferred candidate not only of the Gaelic West, but also of Brud Beli's son, the victor of Dunechan. Sorry, I don't know why I read that like some AI slop, but anyway. Installing an uneducated prince with Celtic sympathies gave the Scots and Picts an effective means of curbing English territorial ambitions.
So it's quite interesting that the former vassals picked the new king.
I think maybe it's sort of like the shockwave of Dunechan.
Yeah, it could also maybe have been like it could also imply maybe like to avoid raids from like this destabilizing moment. Like,
yeah.
If we pick the king, we won't raid you.
It seems like some S tier like politicking from the Scots and Picts here.
Yeah, the Scots must have been like jumping on their horse, like let's go, boys, let's go. We got.
They probably put forward some ridiculous thing that they assumed the Northumbrians would never accept.
It's like a gamble. I always asked them. It's like when you ask for a vacillation in EU4, they just say yes for no reason at all. Like, oh, I guess that's it. After Brud's death, RIP guys in the chat, in 693, the Pictish overkingship passed. The Pictish overkingship passed to a prince called Taran, which was a new name by the guys. Lock in, new name, who was probably Brud's sister's son. Taran was ousted in an internal power struggle 4 years later. That's not to get too attached to him. By another Brud, a son of Derile. Soon after his accession, perhaps a few months later, the king bore witness to one of the greatest ecclesiastical. I hate this word. Ecclesiastical, big religious thing, gathering of the early medieval century. The Irish annals noted the event under the years 697. Adonai went to Ireland and gave the law of innocence to the peoples. This brief entry masked the huge significance of the occasion, which took place at a monastery of Birr in County Offaly. Irish names are so weird. It's like either like oh yeah, it's George. Then it's like Mark and Donald.
That's also Welsh, to be fair.
That's just British history before the English took over.
Yeah.
Thank you, England, for fixing the names.
Genuinely, thank you to the English imperialists, because they made our lives podcasting and reading things out that much easier.
Or harder, depends. Because if we spoke this doesn't matter. Unlike the similar meeting at Whitby 3 decades earlier, the Synod of 697, so close, was essentially a gathering of the key figures of Celtic Christianity. This is like we've mentioned this in a previous episode about the big Roman ones. I've already forgotten the name of it as well. It's like I forgot what they used for it. It's like one like Antioch where they all come around and Santa Claus punched a heretic.
It's not like the Council in Nicaea, is it? Did that happen at the Council?
That is the Council in Nicaea. It's where they discussed the issues with Arianism.
That one I couldn't remember if that was the one where, because there's a lot of stuff that's ironed out at Nicaea. Yeah. I wasn't sure if that was the one where allegedly the Holy Spirit, like uses Santa Claus as a vector to punch Arius for his head. Could you imagine committing a heresy so elite God punched you in the face?
That's even funny, like so heretical that Santa Claus punched you in the face.
That's probably the worst bit.
Like biblically, God's like, okay, dude, you're a bit too far now, but should they get fucking Santa Claus to roll up and punch you? Right in front of the Emperor as well. I guess move on. Representatives from the Church and Monasteries of Ireland both came with their delegates from Iona and its satellites, and they assembled at Bar to discuss matters of profound importance of religious and secular leaders alike, like hairstyles. Alongside the bishops, abbots, and priests stood an impressive array of kings, many of whom travelled far to attend this. And one of these were Brud, Derile son, King of Pictavia.
The Synod is most famous for producing one of the four great religious laws of Ireland, the Law of Innocence, as previously mentioned, otherwise known as Queen Adardan. That won't be Adardan. Adomnan's Law. This placed a sacred obligation on kings and other lords to ensure the exemption of women, children, and priests from the ravages of warfare and from military service. The Great Synod at Bar demonstrated the enormous power and influence of Adomnan, even in regions far from his headquarters in Iona, summoning the kings of almost every Celtic realm to a meeting and persuading them to attend in person, or at least, bear witness, was a huge achievement.
Yeah, because like the joke was that funny, you ignored the paying a fine to the church.
I had to lock in. I had to lock
in. English kingdoms such as Northumbria were excluded from the synod because they didn't care anymore about Celtic affairs. One Englishman, however, was present. Egbert, the Northumbrian cleric, who, if you pay attention to last episode, warned Egfrith against the raid on Ireland in 684, which I would argue, if he says God told him not to do that and then the guy did it and he died, I would be running to the Celtic Church as well. And he was the Bishop of Mayo, which is still a funny name to me. His close connection with the Columban Church was soon to have profound effect on Pictish religion and political affairs. I've read your one.
Oh wait, yeah, so you did. Do you know what? That's fine. I'll do.
Wait a minute, I think I'm. Wait. Did I skip one?
Yeah, no, you did. You just went straight to my one because you didn't read the pink one.
Oh, sorry. Also, guys, just to add that joke may have completely took us off rails here. This it's not a timeline, so it's fine. The inclusion of the name Brudson of Derile in the list of witnesses shows the enduring authority of the Columban Church in Pictavia and its status in the eyes of the royal kindreds there. The presence of a Pictish delegation at Bar signalled that the provisions of Cain and the name were intended to apply in Brud's kingdom, just as the king's witnessing of the law showed that he was promised to abide by its terms. Now you can just read the next two ones and I'll get back to the pink one.
Right, okay. Brud, Derile's son, might not have attended the synod in person, but his interests were represented there by Bishop Curitan. That's definitely, I don't know why I done that like he was Spanish, he's Irish. Abbot of the monastery at Rosemarkie in Easter Ross. The presence of Rosemarkie's abbot at the Synod of Bar as a companion or emissary of the Pictish Overking Brud illustrates how even a remote monastery on the windswept North Sea coast could forge and maintain effective links with Iona, foreshadowing. Brud's choice of Curitan and as his ecclesiastical representative suggests that Rosemarkie was at that time the chief bishopric of Pictavia. Adomnan surely knew Curitan personally, even before the Pictish bishops attended at Bar. During Adomnan's long tenure of the Abbacy of Iona from 679 to 704, he's likely to have visited the Columban Church east of Druim Alban, and several traditions associate him with specific sites. Across the former Pictish lands, he's still remembered in place names and church dedications incorporating Ernan, Ewan. That's just Ewan, isn't it? I don't think it's actually pronounced Ewan. Yeah, it is Ewan. Another variant of his name, some of which might be due to the activities of his disciples, if not actual visits by himself. In Athol, there is a noticeable cluster of such place names, including several lost examples retrievable only from medieval charters and similar landholding documents. The name of Curitan, too, is found among all Gaelic place names in former Pictish territory, chiefly in Glen... I can never pronounce this.
Urquhart.
Is that really it?
Yeah, it's Urquhart, yeah.
Urquhart, and other lands around Loch Ness.
The saint is in fact a rather mysterious figure, like most saints in British history. His importance as a delegate at the Synod of Bar, medieval Scottish tradition believed that he had an alternative name, Boniface. I never did full stops correctly ever.
I swear, there's a like a Leipzig, not like a Leverkusen striker with that name.
Boniface, yeah. And Boniface derives from the Latin name Bonifacius or Bonifatius. It's really
No idea.
a famous pope bore
Unfortunately,
his name in the early 7th century and could have been an inspiration behind Curritown's adoption of it, an alternative name or surname. This was by no means an unusual practice. An English priest called, I've spelled it wrong probably. Well, I'll say how I wrote it. Bergisel. Actually, that looks kind of right. Actually,
yeah, mate.
Bergisel, how do you say it? Served as Bishop of East Angles between 652 and 669. Took Boniface as a surname as well. The Scottish Saint Boniface is often associated with church dedications to St. Peter, and this might point to Curtin's harbouring Roman sympathies, if he and Boniface were indeed the same person.
In the late 7th century, it was also not unusual for a Celtic priest to campaign on behalf of the Roman way of doing things. The Greater Donner himself favoured Rome's ecclesiastical practices over those of the Celtic churches and tried to persuade Iona to reform its customs. Curitin may have shared the same views, taking the papal surname Boniface while campaigning to reform Pictish Christianity on behalf of Rome and at the expense of Iona's influence. Church dedications and old traditions locate the labours of Boniface and Angus, but the medieval cult of Curitin lay further north in the area around Rosemarkie. This suggests that Curitin Boniface spent most of his career in southern Pictavia before retiring to Easter Ross and dying there.
Do I hear something funny?
Yeah.
See the Celtic Church in history, it was like Northern Ireland and Scotland. Do you think it's funny now that the new church, Presbyterian Church, is also based in Scotland and Northern Ireland? The Celtic Church has just changed back to like, guys, the Catholics are cringe now. They used to be cool, now they're cringe. But I'm sure a certain orange man had to do with that. I don't know.
I'm sure this doesn't become a contentious issue.
The Orange Podcast. next episode.
Wow.
In 6-9, that'd be a good like Orange Podcast. It throws some people off. No, as a name, I think it'd be a good one.
Yeah, probably. We'd get away with it for an American.
Yeah. Not here. I'd be struck like see the Cat in the Hat episode where he's strung up against like the rope. Us. You go for Easter Road and you just get grabbed. In 698, the year after the Synod of Bar, hostilities broke out again between Northumbria and the Picts. They just don't know when to stop. A battle was fought in the borderlands around the Firth of which the English leader called Bjorn Hatred, son of Bjorn Hafen, was slain.
Just can't get enough. Just can't get enough. I had a bit of an indication as to some happenings in England at the time.
Yeah. Bjorn Hatred was not a king, but a royal elderman who with responsibility for protecting the northern frontier. His name looks similar to the name borne by the name warlord Berth, who led Egfrith's attack on Ireland 14 years earlier. Berth was a shortened form of Bjorn Hatred. I know I'm not saying it correctly, it's probably Bjorn Hatred or something like that. And according to both names, perhaps belong to the same man or two individuals who were close kinsmen. Bjorn Hatred's death suggests that the Battle of 698 was a Pictish victory. Let's go, boys. Its occurrence speaks of renewal tensions between the two peoples, but the aggressors on the occasion were less likely to be English. The Northumbrian king Aldfrith was a pie. Have I said this wrong? I feel like the aggressors of the occasion were less likely to be English.
No,
I think
I just said done because like it was.
Oh no, I thought I said that the aggressors weren't English, and I thought, did I just say they were like Vikings? I think they're a bit early for that.
Yeah, as well.
The Northumbrian king Aldfrith was a pious ex-monk. and a renowned book for him, rather than an ambitious conqueror. He ruled his kingdom within what Bede determined narrower bounds and chose hot to follow in the expansionist footsteps of his predecessor. Why is the churchman wanting to do war? Bede, come on, stick to it. Don't. It is therefore no surprise to him to find him delegating military responsibilities to subordinates like Biohatred. The Battle of 698 was surely instigated by Brud, Derile's son, who had good reason to revive the dormant hostility between Northumbria and the Picts as a new and untried king. But he also would have definitely had to fight wars to keep his power, but also a good outwards war is also a good way to keep people
Kind of like
united.
the Pictish thing, innit? You know, you
Yeah,
get your kingship, you do Hyperborean death war, but
yeah, and it's like
what
in
else
Argentina
you really
when
meant
they
to
have
do?
troubles and a new dictatorship in Argentina, they like to claim the Falkland Islands. It's tried and true method of any really shaky government to shift the blame or focus on something else. And with over
Yep.
kingship in Pictavia being really shaky at the start, going in a foreign war normally did help.
Particularly against the Northumbrians, I would add probably helps.
Yeah, all the Britons roughly if they wrote anything about it.
Yeah, pretty much.
And it also suggests that the Scots were not seen as a good target due to the ecclesiastical affairs that we just went over, and also it would also imply that the King of Strathclyde were either really strong or just not worth it. But in these days, it's always worth it
Uh,
to
and
iterate something.
this is where it becomes history of the Strathclyde propaganda, and it's because they were way too strong, and actually,
They,
they were the
they
High
were that
Kings of Britain.
pious. They were that pious and refused to actually fight anyone else because they're that strong. It's like Wakanda and Marvel. They could take over everything. They choose not to.
Yeah, it's real, actually real.
They should have. They should have moved it. Like it's like King of Strathclyde. It's like see the under the Strathclyde lake. It's a big portal.
Yep.
So it's a big kingdom.
Uh, Back to the narrative. Adornin, if I own died in 704, but I presume his taxes going to his church didn't, and was followed a year later by Alfred, King of Northumbria. His son and successor, Osred, was still a young boy at the time. Brud, son of Derile, died in 706 and was succeeded by his brother Necthan, one of the most important of all Pictish kings. The early years of Nectan's reign were marked by, no surprise here, sporadic outbreaks of warfare on the northern and southern frontiers. A likely context for this strife would have been a renewal by Nectan of the consolidation of Pictavia, undertaken by Brud, son of Bailey, in the 680s. The targets were enemies on the periphery of Pictish territory, including those pesky rebels in Orkney who defeated the Nectan in 709. Non-Pictish foes included the Northumbrian English who, pull one out boys, in 711 defeated an army of Picts in the district of Manor.
Yeah. It always kind of speaks to me that it feels like a lot of these, like in a lot of medieval kingdoms, a lot of kings think of the future. It feels like to me in Pictavia, they think of their reign only. Because it's hard to think of the future when the next son in line or the next king in line may not even be related to you at all. Like it could be someone else who rises up, or well, obviously it'll be like in some sort of way because it's like they're all family, but it wouldn't be your son, and it's hard to like groom your nephew into being king if you
Is
let's say
it?
for example, it depends because I know there'd be like a royal headquarters, but these type of kings care like their
Well, I
main
suppose.
focus is keeping their kingship theirs, and it's hard to think of the future when you're in constant internal strife with your own people or like
Yeah, exactly.
usurpers.
So they would be accompanying them. I mean, that's the history of Scotland. It took us long enough. Never mind just the Picts.
Even when like it was safe, the King James was at the second that was just kidnapped at one point by some random guy for like 20 years.
Yeah.
It was the
So
battle. It was the same battle at Melrose. A king was just captured, and they went, "Guys, I'm handed the king. He chose me, and he's locked in a tower. He's safe there."
conveniently, he asked to
Yeah,
be there.
he asked for 2,000 armed guards to not let him leave the room. But in reality, what are the guards going to do? I thought this: if you're the king and there's armed guards like try to take cut, if they shoot you, they've lost the power base. See what I
Yeah, but
would
then you're
do?
dead and the
I'd
problem's
jump out the
over. It's
window.
a legitimacy thing.
No, but the guy, no, but the guy can't take become the new king. if the king dies, because his whole power base was on that king. I would just jump out the window. Ha,
Yeah.
mate, where's your kingship now? Then your
Yep.
younger brother is also kidnapped. Some random guy who claims to be you is alive now. That's like Roman history. Yeah, I'm Caesar. He died 2,000 years ago. I'm Caesar.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, history of Rome.
Is this ever history of the Picts podcast? Is it?
It's literally history of everything else but the Picts. That's what we should have named it.
Episode 11, random ramblings. The victor on this occasion was Beorhtric, presumably a kingsman of the Ealdorman Beorhtred, Anglo-Saxon names worse than Gaelic names, who had died in the border clash of 698. The repeated occurrence of these similar sounding names implies that a Northumbrian family aristocrats were entrusted with guarding the Pictish frontier in an area which clearly remains an unstable border in the decades after Necthan and probably the rest of time. The annals of name one Pictish casualty in the defeat of Jew Fingi, son of Derile, who fell by a premature death. Fingian probably. I should be careful with that. Was a warlord of noble and royal blood to whom King Necthan gave responsibility for military leadership on the southern fringe of Pictavia. He may have been Beorhtric's Pictish counterpart as a March warden in troubled borderlands around the 4th, which to me sounds a bit. And I've never really read that so far of the Picts. They had like, obviously I've read it before, but like a warden in March. Obviously, you'd assume it was just like that.
I imagine
local, like,
they would have something similar.
Yeah, like that sub king's main role is to guard the borders.
Probably part and parcel of being on the border, I suppose.
Yeah.
Nectan's desired stability, and he began to consider making peace with Northumbria treacherous. After his defeat at Manoa in 711, the old tensions, of course, still simmered, and this prompted him to seek a diplomatic solution before hostilities flared again. As we can see, absolutely covered this. No real Pict would ever do this. His diplomacy went hand in hand with an approach to the English clergy, and this is where it gets interesting, that he made... Sorry, I lost my place on the thingy there.
As royal.
That's right, mate. My eyes are failing me here. His diplomacy went hand in hand. His diplomacy went hand in hand with an approach to English clergy that he made as a royal patron of the Pictish counterparts. In a letter addressed to Hlolfrith, abbot of the dual monastery of Wearmouth Jarrow, Necthan asked for advice on certain ecclesiastical matters. In particular, he stated his intention to bring his churches into line with the Roman method of calculating the date of Easter Sunday, which is absolute heresy if you're a Pict. Which had been adopted. Yep. Which had been adopted throughout Northumbria after the Synod of Whitby in 664. To achieve this, however, he had to convince the bishops and abbot of his kingdom that they should change their old ways. At that time, the churches of Pictavia still followed Iona and using archaic Celtic practices, including the obsolete method of calculating Easter,
sorry.
Easter in a strange form of tonsure. This style, which left the form of the scalp completely bare, was regarded by English clerics as archaic and heretical.
I don't know how a haircut can be heretical, but I guess if they look at the way that yeah, but I mean, I feel the only claim if the English knew this, that it was maybe
man, they had wasn't there like an ecclesiastical affair over like leavened and unleavened bread? They'd beef over anything.
So the cup you use is like a diameter smaller than the actual real one, so excommunicated. Sorry, you're gone. And you read this Bible in English? God would hate that. Kill him now. Burn him alive, please. And the book. In England, as elsewhere in Western Europe at the time, the accepted style was the tonsure of St. Peter, a band or crown of hair. I don't think St. Peter had that kind of haircut. I'd assume he wouldn't.
Man, how do you know you weren't there?
Welcome to the History of the Picts podcast. The origin of the Celtic style is unknown, but it may have been, well, the ancient and the myths and what we think is that it may have been the old pagan druids, like that kind of hairstyle, which would maybe suggest why it's different in this one area. And as I said before, a lot of Celtic paganism, Druids, kind of carried over with Christianity. Like a lot of
I'm
early.
bubbling like a simmering pot here. I'm bubbling like a simmering pot here, talking about carryover for heresy, for paganism. I'm bubbling like a
Yeah.
simmering pot.
No, but I mean that was like a big issue. Like a lot of like it was even in the Bible. It was like greetings from
That
Saint
still goes
Peter.
on today.
Greetings from Saint Peter. What are you doing? Yeah, just look at America.
Um, not even just that. Irish people and Italians have a very different understanding of the Roman Catholicism. I was speaking to somebody about this not long ago, and I was like, "What? Like for real?" And he was like, "Yeah, like they have a very different understanding of I say very different, like their practices and stuff. Not necessarily, I don't know about the priests and that, but like your daily sort of practitioner of either religion has a very different idea. So this Celtic Rome divide still goes on to the sort of
Yeah.
smaller extent.
And like if in America, if you just went in your garden and found like maybe like a plate, you'd become like a new prophet. Do you know this apathy of Iona? I don't know how that's in Scotland. Like I don't know how that can survive in like other places apart from America.
Like
Like
just because they send people there, they just send people everywhere.
maybe like we should just make a religion up and just see how far it can go. And
Yeah,
boom,
see as
I've been
long
hit
as you,
with lightning.
see as long as you claim you have an eyewitness and you get the eyewitness to testify to it.
No, but see the real place to spread fake religions now, or like you. Well, I say fake religion in terms of, like the guy's always doing it for money. It's TikTok live.
Yeah.
Hi guys.
Guys, if you see revived Pictish paganism in the next few months, no, he didn't.
Yeah, no, it's like, hey guys, God spoke to me and he said the first thing to do, TikTok live. Sorry, we have to get on. We have to get on. We can't just ramble. Julian has Abbasy. If you remember what we're talking about the Easter calculations and also the hair and that.
Yep.
The great Adomnan, who was, just for some people, he was the student of Columba, so he's quite important, especially for Columba. If we get to that episode, if I can be bothered writing that much stuff, um, he himself tried to persuade the monks to adopt Roman ways, but despite his authority, they refused. They flat out no. Which always says like, why does it matter about a haircut? This is medieval Britain, Northern Britain. If you if you walk across a still bit of water, you're dead. Actually, though, their Pictish colleagues across the spine of Britain continue to follow suit.
Necthan was a man of great learning who had diligently studied the ecclesiastical literature to the Easter controversy. He was, however, first and foremost, the king of a powerful and warlike people who faced potential enemies on every border. His letter to his friend in England, I'm not pronouncing that again, was sent on a religious pretext in political terms. It represented the communication from one sovereign kingdom to another with whom it recently engaged in warfare. It was therefore sent in the context of, and as a component of, a wider diplomatic process that Nectan hoped would bring an end, to the conflict between Pictavia and Northumbria. Colfrith's reply, in which he provided justification for adopting the roaming Easter in the Petrine tonsure, for some reason, I don't know how you justified that, was likewise a diplomatic as well as a religious response. It was probably presumed, in consultation with the young Northumbrian King Osred, Alfred's teenage son, who was more than willing to make peace with the Picts. Both Nectan's original letter and Colfrith's reply represented the religious components of a broader peacemaking process between the two kingdoms, and this broad perspective can be seen in the following words addressed to Nectan: "May the grace of the eternal King keep you in safety to reign for many years, and so bring peace to us all."
Oh.
And they kissed, and it was the end.
The end. They lived happily ever after in their unified kingdom of Northumbria and Pictavia. Then 2 weeks later, massive civil war. The text of Colfer's letter to the Pictish king is preserved in Bede's history because, of course, it is. They probably like drew in some little X's and like hatred, like arrows towards Nectar, like love hearts towards the Northumbrian king. The original may have even been composed by Bede himself at a monastery of Yarrow, where he lived as a monk since childhood, As one of one of the most foremost scholars of his generation, it hurts to say, Bede was well equipped to provide biblical quotations and ecclesiastical references required by Culfrith and as justification for adopting the Roman system. Yeah. Romans chapter 1, please take care of this certain way. The resulting document certainly pleased the Pictish king and convinced him that he was right to persuade the clergy in his realm to abandon the archaic Celtic ways.
Bede described the scene at Nectan's court when the reply was received. The document was read aloud in the presence of the king and his assembled leaders, who included not only important aristocrats but also various learned men. The latter being clerics of high status, namely the bishops and abbots of the Columban Church in Pictavia. Such men were able to understand Latin, and so, maybe, was the king. But the noblemen of his entourage needed to hear the letter read aloud in their own language. The Latin was duly translated into Pictish for their benefit, if only you had decided to write this down, and,
Yeah.
after due
If
consideration...
they just wrote it down, this one letter, and it kept alive. I mean, they may have did, but Bede went, no, ripped it up.
Probably. That's Bede for you. He's probably so bitter about it that he burned every picture that's writing he could come across. I would like to preface that there is no evidence that Bede done that.
Bede was very bitter about the Picts.
Yes. And after due consideration of this Pictish reading, the king gave his reaction. Bearing in mind that the assembled leaders undoubtedly included older Picts who had taken part in the victory at the Nectan, Nectan's response is unlikely to have happened in the way described by Bede, who wrote triumphantly that the Pictish king knelt down thanking God for having made him worthy to receive such a gift from England. Given the hostility between the two kingdoms, it's likely that his true reaction was rather more measured and sober, and he actually didn't grovel on his feet.
What probably happened was Nectan went, thank you for this insightful bit of knowledge. Beasley on the right as it goes, and he crawled over to the king, wiped his boots with his cape, broke his crown in half, and went, thank you God for England. He basically went and he went, thank you God for giving us England. I'm surprised it's not an edit for like an English, like Anglo-Saxon. Someone must believe that. After receiving the letter, the king sent instructions to clergymen in every part of his realm, informing them that they must now compute the date of Easter according to the Roman Catholic method. Alongside the decree went a requirement for them to tonser their hair in a manner of circular crown and to abandon the ancient Celtic style. The fact that Nectan's instructions were adopted throughout his kingdom shows that his control was really dominant in this place. Which, like, to control political and religious affairs, he must have been very charismatic and a lot of men with knives under his command.
Yep, that's a pretty good summation of that. In cultural and artistic terms, his realignment of the Pictish Church coincided with a new style of monumental sculpture, the upright stone slab with a carved cross on one side. The vibrant style, is one way of describing it, of craftsmanship on these monuments reflects the energy and vigour of Christianity in Pictavia in the wake of his reforms. Similarities between the new sculptural techniques and those of Northumbria indicate the presence or influence of English craftsmen. Further, Northumbrian influence may have led to the veneration not only of St. Peter, but also St. Andrew, to whom the monastery at Hexham in the Tyne Valley was dedicated. It's also possible that a church and cult centre associated with Andrew were founded by Nectan on the coast of Fife, where the cathedral city of St. Andrews stands today.
Well, see I forgot the name of the place. Paisley. In Paisley, the Church of Paisley, the cross there is dated for like the 800s and like 700s, so it is close to the time frame, and it's but that is, it's quite interesting because that's from the Britons, from
Yeah, that
the King
one's for the Brits.
yeah.
Exactly.
So that does imply that. Well, I'm sure. This might be bad. I don't know this, but I don't know if the Britons of Strathclyde were Celtic Christianity or.
I'm not sure if they were Celtic Christianity or not, but I think there's enough markings on that it's distinctly British. I know that much.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting that they had like they were built the same kind of cross in the same time frame. But it could just be it's the only one that survived, and me can I guess and maybe be like, oh, maybe they're doing it at the exact same time as the Picts as well, or maybe or maybe we just didn't,
Well,
we just don't know really. Is it?
I suppose because in a lot of sources, the kings of Strathclyde Britons were usually involved, and over the sort of centuries they get watered down and eventually referred to as allies in some of them.
Yeah.
So there may have been some Strathclyde Briton involvement here.
Well, in Strathclyde, Britain,
Unfortunately,
like this cross, I don't know if it's the real one in the church. It is. I think it's a real one. It's so beautiful.
I'm pretty sure it is. I've
It's
seen
so
pictures of it,
impressive.
but
Yeah, you're jealous. Me and my girl. Well, Abby seen it, and she was bored the whole time. So I was sat there. I stood there for like at least half an hour. It was so interesting to me. The church as well is beautiful, but that cross is just it's so crazy to me that something so old is just left with no guard. It's got like a little loose fence, but it's so well preserved as well. So well preserved.
yeah, that's what shocked me about at least the pictures I'd seen.
Yeah, like you can see everything pretty much. Obviously, the edges are a bit like worn down, but it's probably like that
Yeah,
back then as well. Alongside the religious changes, there came a formal end to hostilities between Northumbria and the Picts. Bede refers to this as the Feodus Passis, a peace treaty, and it was still in place when his ecclesiastical history was published in 731. The treaty originated during this period of communication between Necthan and Wearmouth Yarrow, and was one of them of a bundle of conciliatory gestures which included Celfrith's advice and the loan of English stonemasons. The political and religious negotiations were closely intertwined. Eventually, a non-aggression pact was made and a commitment to the Pictish Church into line with the Romans' practice. From a wider perspective, this meant a swift termination of Ionist influence in Pictavia. So after an extra 400 years, the Romans finally conquered the Picts.
and applause, please, for Agricola's mission finally being carried out.
By the Romans. The Northumbrians, sorry.
The key players in the various there you go, there's a fourth Rome. The key players in the various negotiations represent the secular and spiritual hierarchies of the two kingdoms. Nectan was the main secular figure on the Pictish side, while the young King Ostred and his advisors represented Northumbria's political interests. Ecclesiastical aspects of the peacemaking process were directed on the English side by Colfrith and his monks, with Bede themselves perhaps acting as chief scribe. Their main Pictish counterpart may have been Curitan of Rosemouchy, who had previously represented Nectan's brother, Brood, at Adomnan's Great Synod of the Celtic Churches in 697. Like Adomnan, Curitan was probably an advocate of Roman ways and thus sympathetic to Colfrith's views.
Another Northumbrian cleric who shared the same opinions was Egbert. These names are unreal. A co-attendee at the Bird Gathering in his role as abbot of the Irish monastery of Mayo in 712. At a time when Nectan was making his first diplomatic approaches to Northumbria, Egbert became Bishop of Iona. His new role brought him into direct contact with Pictish clergy, all of whom, at that time, still acknowledged Iona's authority in important matters. Egbert must have known Curitin from their attendance at the Synod of 697 and would have regarded him as a key ally in bringing Pictish Christianity into conformity with the Roman ways. As a Bishop of Iona, Egbert would have made periodic visits to King Necthan, who probably used Curitin as an intermediary, and it is equally likely that Egbert was also a key link in the communications between Necthan and Colfrith.
This widely travelled Englishman's greatest achievement came some years later, in 716, when he finally persuaded the Brethren of Iona to abandon their old Celtic customs and fall in line with Rome. Despite this, some priests were reluctant to make a rapid change. Among the Pictish churches, this meant that the reforms imposed by Nectan were not implemented as quickly as he might have wished. In 1717, his frustration boiled over and he expelled the remaining Columban clerics from his
I mean, after that long of a time,
realm. Yeah,
like
there's the
nigh on
scholars
a
wrote further
decade.
back.
Fucking hell. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Well, that's one of Scripps ends.
Well, no, I thought you were saying something as well.
Oh, right. No, I was gonna say, you may or may not know, listener, this particular pattern of religious affairs uh, repeats itself again down the line in some particular history.
Yeah, and it also happened like 2 weeks ago. Like the Colombian, so in like Pope Pius the Tenth, his fan crowd excommunicated. Um,
Oh yeah, the
yeah,
Swiss folk.
I don't know. You thought I meant this. If
Nah, I
I
kind
missed
of
some
forgot
lore in like
about
the Presbyterian Church or something. Well, that episode's finally over. I could tell that Luke was hating that towards the end of it because it just kept going on and on and on and on about the hair.
my mouth is sore because I was out all day. And then we've done back-to-back episodes. I'm gonna go home.
Yeah,
Like after this episode, I'm sitting in silence for
yeah.
3 weeks.
And the funny thing is too is that well, what's funny to me that the time it took to probably set this meeting up must have been so long because we're traveling. It would have to be through all these sub kingdoms and through Northumbria and hope they didn't get
Yeah,
stabbed.
I think. I mean, that's the thing. I think you always need to remember about this period. At any point, some raider or bandit could have just murdered one of these super important guys, and that would have been it.
Yeah, and there's no pictures. So how would a sub king of this like maybe a smaller Pictish area know who this guy is?
I mean, that must have been like a huge power move. You could have just like have
Well,
never actually met. You could have like never actually appeared at your own court, and
well,
nobody would know.
see, I know it's to do with the Romans, but there was a usurper of a dead emperor, but because how big the empire was, people outside of the capital, didn't know he was dead and assumed like because he was at first he was kicked out, and then he was killed. So
Ah,
um, what was it? I was either killed or died of old age, but in Byzantine or Eastern Roman times, the noblemen of like Antioch never actually lived there. They lived in the capital. 'Cause that's where everything was happening. So
yep.
one guy going through these places, and obviously some people would know he's dead, but go, "It's a large army. I could get some money here if I help them." Um, and eventually, but because it died out, because if you can't siege the walls within 2 weeks, it's over. Yeah, if you can't
Yeah.
be getting Constantinople in 2 weeks, it's over. And off topic again, but my favourite guy, Justinian II, crawled through a sewer drain with an army and took the city.
I mean, how much more real does it get?
Yeah. By the way, he also had his nose cut off, which was him coming back to regain emperorship. And he was a terrible emperor, but he had good motivation. That's where he got it.
Or
His
have
nose
high
cut
moments?
off. Yeah, his nose was cut off, so he couldn't become emperor for some reason because he had a weird face. Now he came back, had a golden nose. Somehow didn't contract some disease from going through a sewer. So poor guy. Some did probably like his loyal soldiers covered in bruises and cuts, crawling through piss and shit. It's over, boys. I'm sorry, but I'm king now, so it's it's fine.
There's nothing in the end, right?
Yeah, like I know you're a dangerous, unpleasant death, but I'm emperor, and I've given you maybe like 2 gold coins. So that is the end of the not podcast, episode 11 of the podcast. Um, Next episode we'll go over the death of Necthan and also some more tomfoolery he'll go through, and
Yes.
also eventually maybe next episode the Vikings arriving on Scottish soil, or more
Shut up.
likely I'll probably go over them attacking England first because they attacked England first. But yeah, see you all
Thank
later.
you for listening.
Thank you for listening. We're gonna give Luke his throat a rest now. And we'll see you all later. Goodbye.
Bye bye.